Sports Fix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix.
Hey, everybody. Listen up.
Listen up, guys.
Hey, guys, listen up.
No one should ever hit a woman.
Not their wife, not their girlfriend, not their date.
No woman should have to fear violence.
Especially not from someone they know and trust.
But that's the reality for too many women.
We have to change it.
It's up to each of us, because even one is too many.
Violence against women hurts all of us. Growing up, I was ashamed and afraid of my father when he abused my mom.
The worst abuse of power is when a man raises his hand to hurt a woman. We all have to take responsibility. So if you see someone threatening a woman, step up, speak out, and get help.
Dating violence hurts all of us. So step up and help end it. Because one is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
End the violence.
Because it's wrong.
Because one is too many.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Fantasy Jocks. Visit fantasyjocks.com, your fantasy sports superstore. Championship belts, rings, trophies, and more.
Well, welcome back to the Sports Fix Live across the Sports Fix Radio Network. J-Rock back with you, rolling on. Told you guys, another loaded Thursday edition of the show. Still plenty more to come. We've got Doug Plagens, the voice of the Lake Erie Monsters. He's still to come on tap here. Don't go anywhere, but we're not even there yet. We are only halfway through this bad boy. Coming up next, it's Thursday. You guys know what that means. Fantasy football, regular football. It all converges tonight and starts. And where else do you get ready but right here? Fantasy football for winners. My next guest, BJ Rudell, is here every week. Today, no differently. Of course, since the phones are taken up, you can't call, but we want you to be a part of the conversation and ask your questions. Not just today, but throughout the weekend and on Sunday. You can tweet with us, tweet with BJ, and ask your questions. But hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix, CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. And we're going to go to the phones right now. As I said, fantasy football for winners. And we're getting, speaking of winning time, we're getting into the home stretch now, nitty gritty. I know in our league here, we've got, 4 games left in the season. That's probably par for the course with most people. So playoff positioning big. I know in our league, we've got a whole batch of teams all grouped with the same amount of wins. First 2 are going to get by. So these next few weeks are crucial for a lot of people. And we're looking to talk about that right now with BJ Rudell on the hotline, author of Fantasy Football for Winners. My co-host here every Thursday when we do this. BJ, how you doing this afternoon?
Great, J-Rock. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, man. Glad to have you here again. And I mean, I'm more fantastic than my fantasy football team is, but I'm fantastic
I was going to ask
nonetheless.
You, do you want to talk about it?
I don't want to talk about it, but I mean, I'm paying for the couch time, so I might as well, man. I did win last week. I'm good. Actually, what really got me, seriously, I would have a chance to win out and get into the playoffs 2 weeks ago. Not last week. I won my game this past weekend. The weekend before, when Andrew Luck stopped throwing the ball with 18 minutes left in that football game. And that did me in. I lost that week by 2 points. Had I won that game, here I'd still be 4-7, but I would have a chance to finish with 8 wins, and I did the math. That may sneak in the final playoff spot in our league, depending on it. Probably not, because we've got a bunch of teams that are already up there. But regardless, you can't do anything but win what's left. I do think I'm going to win out. You know, you and I talked about guys for later in the season, and I was telling you off the air, a lot of those guys are bearing fruit for me now. Jordan Matthews looks great now, but unfortunately the secret, and we'll probably have to do this better next year, is you've got to survive today while you're waiting for tomorrow, because otherwise you may get to tomorrow and be 2-7 when you get there.
That's right, and then there's nothing you can do about it. So it's the short-term, long-term play. You got to look short-term and long-term at the same time. Look, I had some bad luck in one of my leagues. I'm 5-5, but I lost by 2.5 points. I lost by 8 points. I lost by less than 2 points and lost by 5 points. So 4 of my 5 losses, and these are, games that go up into the 100. So these are, 4 out of 5 games that it's kind of the what ifs, and it's tough. And the key is not to get rattled, and know that, there's going to be enough games where you win by 2 and you lose by 2. It just may not happen this year. It may happen 5 years from now.
If I had a keeper league here, man, if I had one of those dynasty deals, I may be in better shape than if I was otherwise. Hey, real quick before we get into anything else, speaking of fantasy football, maybe I was more intrigued by this because I'm doing a terrible job this season in my regular fantasy football. But you guys have heard me. I've mentioned that I started having some fun on the DraftKings. I don't know if you've checked them out, BJ. DraftKings.com. I've just started playing around on there.
I've not played it.
It's kind of fun. It's different. It's way different than just what your standard fantasy football, because it really does. You're not locked in. If your guys get hurt, like some of us have seen, you're out of it. But it's not even just that. It's like the way I've been describing it to people is it's like a lottery ticket, except instead of just picking random numbers, you think you're really smart because you know so much about sports. So you think you're just rigging the lottery here. You're like, well, there's no way I can lose this thing, man. I want that player and that player and that player. But then when it plays out, it's kind of fun, man. It really is cool because they've got short-term ones where you can like last night I was screwing around with basketball and there was like 3 games and I did a little one-night thing and I didn't win, unfortunately, but it was fun. And I could see though where the problem is I have an addictive personality and those games were pretty addictive. I said I could lose the rent money here, man, if I'm not careful. Yeah. But it is kind of fun. It's a different way to approach fantasy sports, completely different than anything I've ever seen before.
I competed about 17 or 18 times with Sporting News, when Sporting News used to have, it wasn't daily, I think they have daily now, but they used to have season-long fantasy sports competitions. And I started realizing, that I enjoyed fantasy sports because I won a couple of their national tournaments, and it was that kind of thing. You start with $30 million, put together a team, and then day by day, you're basically buying and selling your own players based on who you think is going to go up or down. And the people who could figure out the future trends better than anyone else were the ones who won. And it was out of, one of them was out of 300,000 people, the other was out of 60,000 people. I didn't win the kind of money that people were winning on DraftKings. It was a much more low leverage kind of risk, but it was pretty exhilarating. And to be able to see yourself in the standings, at the top of the standings, day by day, picking up, dropping guys. In football, one year I finished 21st, but at one point I was 5th out of about 200,000 people. And, I started, who was the guy for Oakland Raiders, running back about 10 years ago, Lamont Jordan. I started him one day. He got me 3 touchdowns. It shot me up the standings because no one started Lamont Jordan. So, you have fun with that because you can find 1 or 2 bargains that no one else is thinking about, and they do well, you have a chance to win big money. So it's I appreciate that. I have 2 kids at home, and I just can't bring myself to put a mortgage on their future homes.
I mean, I'm the kind of person that I like online poker. I love to play online poker or any kind of. I'm a big poker player. I like it, and that's the same. It's really a very similar concept. If any of you have ever sat down and played, especially a few years ago before they shut down all the, Full Tilt and all those Bodog, all those sites that everybody was starting to play, because it kind of backed off. But that was becoming like a mainstream thing for a few years. And then the government said, no, we can't have you guys sitting at your house playing poker on your computers now. We can't have that. But anyways, but it's the same concept, except you feel more educated, except it's no different whatsoever. You're still just seeing what cards get shuffled out of the deck, because you can know whatever you want. But when it's day to day, it's a lot different. But it's fun. It's definitely fun. I figured I'd ask you about that because I know you're all over the place with the fantasy sports, and it is kind of cool, like you said, It's a rush to be in there, even if you're up there, even if you fall down. Like last night, I was watching myself rise up through the thing. I'm like, hey, man, I'm all right, man. But then, you come back down to earth a little bit and whatever. But
I had a guy message me on my blog yesterday or two. It was yesterday that I was recommending to people last week that they start Josh McCown if they were desperate. I predicted 2 touchdowns, 250-plus yards passing. McCown was the 5th best fantasy quarterback last week. A lot of people were saying McCown was a bust when he took over from Mike Glennon. I didn't see it. And a guy sent me a message and said, hey, I won big money last week because I bet on McCown. And, that's the differentiation. If you can find, and, it's not just my site, but there's people out there who think differently. And if you're not saying, start Aaron Rodgers, bench Daniel Thomas, if it's not all the obvious stuff, and you're really giving people value added, it helps not just with, rotisserie season-long kind of fantasy leagues, but also, with these daily leagues.
I'll tell you what, you just set it up perfectly. You didn't even know I was going to do this, but while we're bringing up your recommendations and tooting some horns here, I tweeted it out. You saw it last weekend during the games, but last Thursday right here, I remember the quote. Ben Roethlisberger, if you've got him, sell him now, get the farm. You can get 2 or 3 starters for him, man. Move him today because he's not going to be worth it tomorrow. And sure enough, if you traded him on Monday, you got nothing compared to what you got if you traded him on Saturday because he came back down. Look, I like Ben Roethlisberger as a logistical quarterback winning football games, but as you said last week, he's not 12 touchdowns in 2 weeks.
That's right. And people start to fall in love with the past. They start thinking, oh, look at what this guy's done for me. So therefore, of course, he can keep doing it without understanding that there's a give and take to every player, every season. Andrew Luck is elite, and there's no quarterback better than him. But, Luck's going to have a couple off games. It's just going to happen. I mean, he had one a few weeks ago. He had 2 TDs and an interception against Cincinnati. It was a good game, but it wasn't what people were hoping for from Andrew Luck. Everyone moves up and down. It's just, for some people, it's more extreme. And when the mediocre talents have extreme highs, you can expect extreme lows to follow.
You got that right. Speaking of extreme highs and lows, like I said, it's that time where people are really starting to make playoff positioning in that, and they're going up and down, and they're guys, and we've seen a lot of things. This is a very important, these next couple of weeks are key here coming down the stretch. Let's get into it. We'll start with quarterback since we're talking about McCown and Roethlisberger and those guys. I know Mallett starting for the first time this week. St. Louis continuing to switch. I don't know what's up with that. They're switching things around. They like Davis for a minute. Now they're back on Hill. But those are marginal guys most likely. I don't expect Mallett to do much against a surging Browns defense at home this week. But who are you looking at? Ben Roethlisberger probably could bounce back this week from what he did last week. He's got Tennessee coming up, you got to think. And your boy Matt Ryan, even though he's up and down, he's got a really bad Carolina defense over there.
Yeah, Matt Ryan is his own separate story. Just that offensive line, the team has not been able to recover from that. And it's just a reminder of what a depleted offensive line. They've lost 3 of their starters, in the offensive line. I think all within the first few weeks, and that moved Ryan. Ryan got off to a huge start the first couple weeks of the season. And, of course, it's just not the same. If you're in a dynasty league and you can keep Ryan on the cheap, keep him. Because as long as he has a good offensive line, he should be fine. But I don't know any quarterback that's going to do well with what he has to deal with. But I've got 3 guys who wrote it on my blog this morning, 3 guys that no one's talking about as legitimate starters anymore in fantasy football, especially in 10, 12-team leagues. Jay Cutler, everyone was so high on him a few weeks into the season. You're the top 5 fantasy quarterback. I wrote about it in Sports Illustrated that he was going to regress. He and Philip Rivers, when they were both number 4 and 5, respectively. I said, these guys are going to regress big time. Now you're hearing about, Philip Rivers can't buy a touchdown. Jay Cutler is looking awful. Well, Jay Cutler is going to come up huge this week. A lot of people are not starting him. Those that might have him are probably going to be looking to trade him. You can get him on the cheap and have a terrific, I think, top 7 quarterback. Robert Griffin III, the same way. Everyone's forgotten about Robert Griffin III. He has a terrific matchup against the second worst pass defense.
Oh, yeah.
He should be great. And then finally, Cam Newton. He's got 2 injured feet. He's got 1 good receiver. He has no running game, and yet I think Cam Newton's going to come up huge against the very Falcons you just mentioned.
Really?
The worst pass defense in the league. I'm predicting 300 yards and